Welcome to the explainer video for the story behind the psalm layer. This video will introduce you to our story behind resources, why they're important, and how to find your way around. To begin, let's start with Psalm 6. This psalm, like many psalms, is like a puzzle, but we only have some of the pieces. So we read about God's anger and discipline, and a prayer for healing. We read about death and Sheol, weeping in the night, and beds that float and melt. Finally, near the end of the psalm, we read about opponents and evildoers who are told to leave because the Lord has heard. How do we complete this puzzle? How can we fit these pieces into one coherent picture? What is the story behind the psalm? Throughout history, many answers have been given for Psalm 6. Many say it's a story of David in sickness, praying for healing. Others say, no, there's no sickness, but enemies are the problem. The enemies, though, could be bad friends, rebels, demons, or even sorcerers who caused the sickness. Some rabbis understood Psalm 6 as an experience King David had in the bathtub. Others have read it as referring to the return of the Messiah. This is where the story behind the psalm layer comes in. Our goal is to put all the puzzle pieces together, to fill in the blanks, and to make sense of the psalm as one coherent, meaningful whole. Our story behind resources come in 6 sections, and here we'll focus on the 3 most important: the summary triangle, the background, and the expanded paraphrase. To learn about the other 3, our detailed story triangles, the assumptions table, and imagery, you can see our user's guide. Let's begin at the top of the page with the summary triangle. These triangles are a tool we use to visualize the story. Every story, every narrative has at least 3 parts: the rising tension, some kind of problem or challenge; the turning point, the climax where the tension is resolved or the challenge is overcome; and the falling action, which happens after the turning point. In our story behind layer, we analyze every single event and idea in the psalm and organize it into this triangle story shape. As you can see here from Psalm 3, we have the rising tension between David and his enemies, led by Absalom, his son, leading to the turning point where the Lord rises up and saves David, with the falling action of shame for enemies and honor for David after that. We then put a star to show where the words of the psalm take place within that story. As you see here, Psalm 3 occurs during the rising tension. So the psalm's a prayer for help. The star comes with the part where David calls out to the Lord to save him. Other psalms, like Psalm 100, take place after the turning point. Here God has already rescued Israel from trouble, so the psalm is a big celebration and thanksgiving to God. Other psalms, like Psalm 2, cover multiple parts of the story behind. So you can see here the star begins before the turning point, with the Lord laughing at the nations in their rebellion, and finishes after the turning point. Now this summary triangle is supported by the rest of the resources found beneath it. For example, the Story Triangles tab presents a much more detailed version of this same story. In the Background tab, you can read about key background ideas to put the psalm in its ancient context, as well as the background situation, which highlights the main events leading up to the psalm. In the Paraphrase tab, you can read our expanded paraphrase. Here we try to complete the whole puzzle, filling in the missing pieces. The actual text of the psalm is in bold, and then we add in all the implied details and connections in italics. This allows us to fill in the blanks and create one coherent, meaningful whole. We hope you'll find all these resources helpful. For more information on our resources, our method, and other specific layers, you can see our user's guide.